Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser on a Friday. And that's right, it's Friday. So it's a reckless Friday. As always, we're brought to you by our friends at Coffee Roasters. What the heck was in that cup, by the way? Are you using the cup?
I'm using the cup so I can do this every time somebody says something reckless. It's the reckless cup.
It's the reckless cup holding reckless. Okay, nice. No Kazi this Friday. So I'm gonna have to be the one to make fun of your ridiculous takes.
I'm here for it. I am here for it.
Oh, hold on. Is it Sabah el Khair?
Sabah al Khair, yes.
I got that another language knocked out of the park over here.
Congratulations on being fluent in Arabic.
Another one down. A lot of stuff to get to in terms of headlines and mostly manager related. But before we get to what everybody else is doing with their managers, are you shocked that we haven't heard more from Slot?
Considering how much talking he did before officially getting the job, yes. This guy didn't get the job officially. I mean, he knew he did, but nothing was official. And this dude was talking about it every day in every press conference. Like, so how is your next game going to look? Oh, as the new Liverpool man. Like, no, you're a Feyenoord manager. Oh, yeah, it's going to be good. But as a Liverpool. And then now he went silent. And obviously it's because he's still getting to know the players. I'm sure there's a WhatsApp group now. I'm sure they're chit-chatting here and there trying to break the ice. But the rumor is he's, bringing him back a little earlier in June to start an early camp and get to know everybody. So we'll see how that goes.
June 1st, so it's tomorrow, huh? I mean, about time. I was really trying to find I guess that's true too. Because I really thought it would be a lot more of, we saw 85, the last interviews for Klopp, and I thought we would see 85, the first interview for Slot, like with BBC, Sky, and stuff like that. But I guess since he's not official, they probably are like backing with it. Work permit issues. I'm sure those get done a lot easier than when I get a visa going somewhere. I had to freaking send a bunch of stuff for my brother to come over here so that he doesn't get stuck over here. They're like, are you going to pick up the tab if he goes broke? Is like the biggest thing they ask. I'm sure you've done the same thing with family coming over visiting.
So I don't think Arne Slot had an issue with that. Yeah, if they saw his name, they're like Arne Slot, football manager. Yes. Then I was next, and now I will. Oh hell no, nope, not gonna. Yeah, no, trust me.
Definitely, money is not going to be an issue. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to hearing a bit from him. You would think. It's not going to be like he's gonna put out the formation on the screen and start talking about it. But I do hope, we get some more insight as to what he's thinking and stuff like that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions asked to him about like Nunez and Trent and stuff like that. And I know he's not going to be very honest right off the get-go and be like, this is what I'm going to do. Yes, Nunez sucks and stuff like that. But based on his answers, at least we can speculate a bit better.
Yeah. And I think we'll get an idea because when Jurgen first came, he said, I'm the normal one. We're gonna play some hard rock, hard metal football. I want to see the attitude he comes in with, and based on what we've been seeing before he got hired, how excited he is, I think it'll be a fun press conference, and I think people will grow to like him from day one.
Here we go. Every morning is not complete until we get the pun. So the day has begun with the Slot.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to be a season full of them. I expect, that's interesting, right? Like, based on what we've seen from him before, I do expect him to be actually a bit more serious than we've seen. But I think he will come out and say, praise Klopp and then say, we're going to see what we can improve and stuff like that. Praise the players, praise the club. Praise the Lord. And then
praise anything and everyone. Well, the question becomes, does he say we're going to carry on what the former manager was doing, or is he going to come in and say, you know what, this is a whole new thing? And, because you know how people are before, like, somebody before they get the job, like, oh yeah, I'm like the nicest. And then they get the job, like, fuck everybody, everybody's fired. I wonder if he's going to have that kind of attitude, or he's going to have the attitude that he knows will sit well with the Liverpool fans of the manager before me was one of the greatest ever. And now I'm here to do what he did and finish the job. we'll see. We'll see, because it is going to be interesting, and I am pretty excited. I'm not going to lie.
I expect more of there's a good foundation here that to build on. Kind of a thing, as opposed to saying, we're gonna do the more thing with tweaks, or we're gonna do something totally different. I think he just says, let's see, it's gonna be interesting. But I do think he kind of like takes the vanilla approach, and then
because I'm sure now they're gonna ask him, oh, what about transfers? Who are you? It's day one, so they're gonna ask all these things, and I'm sure he's gonna, oh, the owners were gonna back me, and they're gonna, we hear it every summer. They're gonna spell $700 billion, and then the summer comes in. It's like, is there any free players? So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, say boys are sold, and which doesn't happen a whole lot, so that's kind of like a good ordeal. I feel like I was going to ask, actually, which Kazi was here. He's the big FSG guy that I ask my questions to, like to see if his opinions are changing as we go. I don't know if he caught his very, very last farewell event for club, because he was asked about it again. I honestly didn't bring the headline on the screen because I knew Kazi wasn't going to be here. But since you brought up FSG, he talked a lot about one, FSG in terms of being supported, and like probably the most suitable ownership for him, because he did bash, United and Chelsea, and said something along the lines on like, I wouldn't last a month or a year or something like that, which is what we had said, I think, like a month ago or so in a podcast over here.
Yeah, and he's multiple times said, indirectly and directly, that doing everything legally is better. So yeah, no, I'm with him. I'm an FSG guy, and I hate to say it because I know a lot of people like, oh, what a sellout. I'm an FSG guy, so I don't mind FSG. I think FSG are the right owners for Jurgen. When he wanted to go out and splash the cash, as they say, and get Caicedo, guess what? They said go for it. When he wanted to go out and get Lavia, they said go for it. It's not like they're always like, nope, don't sign anybody. It's just if it makes sense, and they're more of like, okay, fine, just make it make sense to us, and we'll make it happen. So I don't mind them. Jurgen wouldn't last in a Chelsea because Boli was signing players that he wanted. Yeah. And Poch was like, oh, cool. I got 2 DMs in 2 days. Nice. It sometimes it doesn't make sense. City are a little different. City let the manager do the work. They let him pick the players, but they don't care what the price tag is, and they don't care if they have to funnel money in from a company that makes it seem like a sponsorship and all that. So yeah, that wouldn't work for Jurgen. He's an ethically good guy, and that's why he just wouldn't last in a Chelsea. He wouldn't last in a City, and of course, he wouldn't last in United because it's a shit show. Small clubs.
It's the same concept. I think it's basically players just being bought, and more importantly, I think players not gotten rid of and stuff like that. But he did, admit, and I think, everyone should admit this to themselves. This is an investment for these people, and they do want to make money. Of course. I think that's for pretty much all owners, unless you do have oil money where profit is not as big of a concern. You just bought a club and you're kind of running a club for your ego and as a side gig kind of thing. I mean, I would think, as much as we are into the sport, right?
Yeah.
If you had bazillions, if you had generational wealth, if you will, that we would probably buy a club or something like that, right? And you would be involved in the sport, and now you could be involved financially as well. Like you would do something regarding that. So that's what it is for these guys. They just do it in a different scale because they have billions.
And sometimes you just got a lot of money and you want to wash it around and launder it all over the place. So
what's a better way? I kind of take it as there are a lot of other ways to wash it than own a club.
Yes, but I mean,
about this, but I'm just saying there's like different ways to wash it. I always feel like this is more of an ego boost, and like I say, I mean, if you have the money and if you're like the sports, and ever since you were a kid, you've been following it, you want to do this, you want to do that, now you have the money to play with.
Yeah, I mean, could have gone for a bigger club instead of a nobody club, but I mean, that's fine. You made them
whatever is available,
that's what counts.
Yeah, whatever is available. So
so like I was actually reading an argument between two Manchester United fans yesterday on Twitter, because Ratcliffe, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whatever this guy, so he sent an email to the club employees, like the chefs and the janitors and the cooks, and don't quote me who it is, but he sent an email to all the employees of the club of here's the deal: you're either going to take a pay cut or you leave because we're saving money. And then the top response was, this is what you guys get for letting Jim invest instead of Qatar. if you guys took the Qatari bid, nobody would be losing their job. Nobody would be going through this. But because you guys went with this guy, now you're going through it. And the comments like, who told you what? He goes, well, Qataris have unlimited money. They don't give a shit about how much Carol in the kitchen makes. But this guy, he wants to save money so he can sign players. And it's just, is that where we want to be? Do we want to be the club that has so much money that they don't care about anything? Do we want to be the club that, like now Manchester United, saving money on the cleaning lady so they can pay Anthony his $7 billion a week? No, we're right in the middle. We're FSG. Yeah. We're right in the middle. We don't need to do stupid stuff. We don't need to go spend recklessly, but we also don't need to fire the staff to buy a player. So I think we're in a very healthy place. We're one of the few clubs in the Premier League that nobody talks about their breaking the rules or their financial fair play. None of that. And that by itself is huge for this club.
I think so too. And then it goes, that comes with some tough decisions. Like, Sir Z says, and I know why he's saying that, because he's been crying to sleep every night thinking of Mane for the last 2 seasons. I just don't like they then made us choose between Mane and Salah, because it was financially impossible and not smart to sign 2 aging guys. And I understand all this Mane love, and I know he would do better if he stayed here, but Mane has not been all that as the years have gone. And honestly, I've said this when we were trying to pick one at the time, I always picked Mo personally over Mane, because Mo, and we're seeing this now, right? As he's aging, if he gets slower, he's not dribbling past people and stuff, but he is still creating a lot. Whereas I felt like once you took the pace and agility away from Mane, which is going to happen with age, he would become a lot less effective than a player like Mo. That's why I always picked Mo. But, going back to what Sir Z is saying, I think it just makes you have to make some tough business decisions, because you do have to consider the bottom line. But as everybody's worried, you see all kinds of team names being thrown around this summer. They got to watch PFF. They got to sell. They got to do this. You never see our name. And I think that should speak volumes. I know most fans don't care. They just want shiny toys being bought, kind of a thing.
Yes.
Like, you don't care if there's your parents are in big time credit card debts. That's going to doom you for the rest of your life, as long as you get your new shiny toys, kind of an approach. Yes. But I guess that's fandom for the most part, except older farts that are can see the financial picture.
Yeah, and it's I did notice that it's the newer fans, not just Liverpool fans, but in general, that are like, oh, just go sign him. It's that easy. It's only $100 million. The club makes $1 billion. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. There's some people like, well, this, some people care, some people don't. But I'm glad we're a club of sensible supporters in general, and they understand the meaning of don't break the rules, because you could be an Everton, you could be a Leicester soon, you could be a Forest, or obviously you could be a City, but unfortunately we're not government owned, so we can't be a city. So I'm good where we are.
See, this is interesting, actually, because I was talking to Angie, was it yesterday or a couple of days ago? We're talking about the FSG thing, because if you noticed, everywhere, especially Liverpool sources, what Klopp said, and I kind of mentioned this on Wednesday as well, about United and Chelsea owners and FSG, there was no mention, and there hasn't been a lot, of Klopp saying he felt backed, and he spoke positively about FSG overall, still realizing it's still a business. Within the parameters, he made it sound like it's as good as it can be. They're not perfect and stuff like that, but obviously all the headlines are always like, oh, he took a shot at Chelsea owners and stuff like that, and no mention of the FSG approval. So do you think, and we talked about this in the past on Monday night with Galley and Bickler and stuff like that, but as I think of it more, as I, involved more and more, do you think, is it the anti-FSG sentiment overall? Is it based more on the past American owners? Is it more on the fact that they're just American? Because if it was if FSG was Swedish and they did exactly what they were doing, would they get as much of a response?
They would not.
But why is the American aspect of it? The same thing we get for the website. Why do you think it's there?
So there's 2 things. One of the most common things I've noticed is oh, they don't care. They don't care about soccer. They only care about baseball. So they're treating this like a side hustle. Like
Yeah,
what
and I
it is,
really resent being associated with that, by the way. That's probably what I get annoyed by the most.
But
But go ahead.
listen, it is a side hustle to them. They're an investment company. They're
Yeah.
not a sports firm. They're an investment company, right? Fenway Sports Group, I get it. Fenway Sports Group, but they invest in stuff. Their hustle is investing in sports. But those sports to them are a business. And we got to accept that. John Henry doesn't love Liverpool and bleed Liverpool red. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is Anfield when
But
he gets to
Linda
the stadium.
wears red all the time.
But Linda, well, she looks good in red.
Maybe that's why he bought Liverpool. Linda looks good
Yeah,
in
that's
red.
true.
Right?
That's very true. He's like, now you have to wear this jersey for the rest of your life. But so it's to them, it is a business. The previous owners treated this business miserably, right? They bought the way I look at it, they bought the furniture store, but they never went and they didn't hire good salespeople and they didn't care about what time the deliveries go out. They were just like, just sell. It's like, okay, but if we sell, we got to deliver it. Just sell. We'll worry about delivering later. So this is what they did the previous. These guys are like, okay, let's sell at a good price. Let's deliver at a very reasonable time. And let's make sure we get good feedback. And every here and there, we're going to update all the stuff we got in the store so people can say it looks new. We're not going to update it every year, but we're going to update it every here and there. Very sensible. And people don't like that because, of course, Hicks and Gillette, but also the idea of, listen, up until a few years ago, I would be like, oh, here's a stupid American talking about sports. Yeah, here's a dumb American talking about soccer. You got to break out of that to see what's around you. Listen, maybe Americans aren't the most knowledgeable when it comes to the sport, maybe this, maybe that, but some people give it an effort. Some people try their best, and some people are actually very, very knowledgeable. Not to bring this up, I've seen some people in our group, right? When I first joined, I was like, oh, great, I'm with a bunch of Americans. I've seen some of these people, pretty much almost everybody that's on the panel, to some of the most brilliant people I've ever had the opportunity to work with and talk about soccer with.
You should definitely get out more, but go ahead.
Listen, I've seen some bad things. No, but there's a lot of people that are aware of what's going on, but everybody groups them, especially, locals. Oh, Americans. Oh, dumb Yanks. Oh, this, oh, that. And that takes away a lot of the effort that people are doing. The effort that FSG did, we were going into administration when Hicks and Gillette were there, and then boom, FSG come in and take this club from being worth this much to the third highest value club in the world. That's not easy.
Yeah.
But they don't get the credit for it. And I understand because they're not signing Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar and Mbappe. I get it. Totally fine. But that's not how it works.
That list got worse and worse.
That's not how it works. Yeah.
Plus, says American soccer fans are much less emotional, less biased than soccer fans globally. I think it's because sports are viewed differently over here. I mean, and it's kind of hard to explain to an American sports fan like how soccer is. I mean, the only way I can explain, because people would ask me, I mean, I'm in Chicago here, they're like, why are soccer fans so crazy, man? Like, if they don't follow soccer and stuff. And I always be like, well, just compare your just add your passion for Blackhawks, Bears, Cubs, or whoever baseball team you're sporting, and Bulls all into one, and that's what you get. I mean, soccer is life. That's not just a saying. Like back home, it is life. It's everything.
Yes.
It's the entire year. And like a club. I mean, I grew up as a Fenerbahce fan, and Fenerbahce is a sports club, so they have like basketball, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. They were like women's basketball and all that kind of stuff, and so there is that as well. But it's ultimately all about soccer. It's all about the weekend. It's all about what's happening midweek and stuff like that. And people's lives literally revolve around it. I was watching there, and I was telling Angie, because this is like how life is in Europe. And I remember as a kid, you don't get that over here, like not as much. I don't care what team you support and stuff like that, but Fenerbahce played Galatasaray and they won. But in the locker room, the dude was telling the team, make sure if Fenerbahce kids are going to school happy tomorrow. And to most people, that won't make sense, right?
Yeah.
But I know when Fenerbahce lost to Galatasaray, I did not want to go to school the next day. Just did not. I mean, life was miserable for like weeks to come. So it's basically a huge part of life. And I think that's how it is in Liverpool. That's probably how it is like throughout Europe. I think people don't get that, so they don't understand that, why people are so passionate. But let me ask you this. If I always thought that until maybe recently, that American fans get a bad name because, one, that's on Americans for almost like making fun of and ignoring soccer all these years. And they're like, oh, it's like a boring sport. There's no scoring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And two, overall, it's just being like the side gig, everybody ignores. But let me ask you this, because I know, especially like in Turkey, and I'm pretty sure this is across Europe. If I said, not to get too political, but you'll understand the sense of it. If I said communism, what's the first country that comes to your mind?
Russia.
Yeah. If I say capitalism,
the United States.
Right? So, and this is across the world. So, and in a city like Liverpool, that is, I mean, clearly like more like socialist in, how they approach things and politically and stuff. Do you think that's a huge reason? Because it represents everything. It would be like having a Russian owner over here.
Yeah. Yes, and it's how the people are. It's how the country is. So it's funny that you say that. Growing up in Libya, on Friday when the big rivalry at Ahli and Ittihad would play each other, traditionally, forget even when they're not playing each other. It's a normal Tuesday. You get on a cab and you start talking to the driver, and then he looks at you and he goes, Ahli wal Ittihad. I'm like, oh, I gotta pick one right now. He's like, yeah, what's your team? And then you start looking for clues, and you see he's got a keychain. Ahli's like, oh, dude, I'm not trying to get kidnapped here, Ahli. So it's how it is. And yes, that's how it is at Liverpool. It's this sport, and I'm gonna say used to represent the simple folk. Used to. Now it's all about the money. Now, Infantino, when he came to the US a few weeks ago, I don't know if you saw it or not, he was in a panel, the World Cup prep panel, and he was sitting down with like a lot of the, the MLS commissioner, all these people I don't know, right? He's sitting down and he goes, looks him straight in the eye, and dude starts talking shit to him about his country that's hosting the next World Cup. And Infantino says, what's the problem with the US? He's like, yeah. He's like, you guys, soccer is pay to play. Only the rich can afford to play soccer. But the simple people who play soccer all over the world, who tend to be the best, can't play in this country because they got to pay to play. Oh. And he's straight looked at him. He goes, we got to do something about that. And this is the problem. This is why people don't care about soccer here. Growing up as kids, obviously it's not football, it's not basketball. But guess what? You can put your kid in a football camp. You don't pay a penny. You can put your kid in a basketball camp in Chicago. Yeah, it's free. Your high school has it. Your grade school has it. There's football camps everywhere, summer camps, activities for kids. To put your kid in a decent soccer team, first of all, they don't call them a team. They call them a traveling club.
Yeah.
And you got to pay a lot of money.
Oh, believe me, I know.
So, yeah, exactly. So this same traveling club, I could go to England and put my kid in the Liverpool Academy. And if he's good enough, I ain't paying nothing. And this is Liverpool. This isn't the Jaguars. This is Liverpool. I could go put my kid anywhere across Europe, like Zlatan when he came here. His first press conference in the US, he goes, why can't poor kids play here? I went to sign my kid up and it was very expensive. And this is Zlatan. He's got a lot of money.
Yeah, he was probably he probably doesn't care about how much. It is, especially if you want to. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference between paying, because you're paying for higher quality coaching. And I don't know if that's partially because the sport is still growing and it's new. So in the lower levels, you're just being coached by people who really don't know. So, it might be free. There's like rec soccer that's really cheap. But that both girls started with rec soccer and then went to travel afterwards, mainly because when I've coached and I was working at the time, so I wasn't there every weekend. I coached along other people and they knew nothing about soccer, like nothing. So they were like, just kick it hard kind of a thing, kids are out there having fun kind of a deal. So I think that's why, like, you gotta pay if you want actual coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, we totally went somewhere else. But yeah, I think some of the reason that, we get hate on our videos or FSG gets hate is that it just represents money, whether right or wrong. So every decision, because it's money. Yeah, they are owners and they do want to make money. And like you said, this is kind of a side hustle for them. And it's all about investment at the same time.
Yeah, it reminded me of, there was a time, I don't know if it's still happening, but there was a time where if you get on Twitter and an American person or a Asian person or a Middle Eastern, an Indian person posts a picture of them with a Liverpool scarf or at Anfield, oh, here we go, day trippers coming to ruin our club, blah blah. I'm like, guys, I get where you're coming from. I actually love support local, but if the international fans did not exist, the money wouldn't exist.
Yes.
FSG wouldn't exist. Salah wouldn't exist. Szoboszlai wouldn't, like these people would not be there. I get it. You want the club for you because you're the locals. I'm all for it. But you got to understand that at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
Jurgen wouldn't be there if it was Londoners only in the London clubs, right? Yeah. You would have to get a Scouse manager. If we're at Liverpool, you would have to get a Scouse manager, 11 Curtis Jones on the field. It's not easy. It's not doable. So I know a lot of the hate is there, like when an American posts a video or when an American talks about the sport, but sometimes listen and see. Maybe there is some knowledge there. FSG didn't spend a gazillion dollars on certain players, but where are we? We've won every single trophy in the last 5 years. We've had the best manager in the world. We've got arguably the best player in the world in the last few years who was up there with Messi and Ronaldo head to head. We got one of the best defenders in the world that they've bought. So they've done a great job. They've done great work for us. We can't just be upset with them because they're American.
And that's going to probably take time. It's probably going to be, we won't see it probably, but, like over generations as the sport becomes more and more popular here too. That's why, as much as I'm not a fan of Major League Soccer, I wanted to do well just for that purpose alone. So it does
never
get
will.
more credibility and stuff like that. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I think it's odds. It's an odd dynamic and it's hard to explain. And I know exactly what you're saying because we do get a lot of fans that, and I get part of that in terms of being protective of your club. And I definitely get part of that. That's why I wish Kazi was here, because I think he has, as somebody who has come out and still has a lot of connections going back and forth and stuff, I think he kind of has like a better understanding and probably like of the bigger picture overall, and not just, so he can give the aspect of what the look, because I understand, and I would probably feel the same way if I'm a kid in Istanbul, a Fenerbahce fan, and I can't afford the tickets because all these other people from other countries are coming in and saying, I'm sure it's cool in the beginning. They're like, Fenerbahce is getting big. But after a while, you're like, well, this kind of sucks. These guys are going to the games and I can't. And I understand that.
It's horrendous, especially what I hate about the business aspect of it. You've got a Champions League final. Liverpool Football Club are in the final. Those born and bred Scousers can't go because 52% of the tickets have gone to sponsors.
Yeah.
The other 25% have gone to the highest bidder. Yeah. That is such a shit thing to do. Like, keep the sport for the fans. You've got those TikTok kids are getting free tickets to go blah blah blah. Oh, Champions League. Like, and there's a guy, there's a Kazi who has been supporting this club his whole life, and he can't get a ticket to the Champions League final. Not because he can't afford it, but it wasn't an option for him. Because it went to the TikTok kid and the Coca-Cola guy and the Pepsi guy. And so that I hate. I hate when you're at home.
Just FIFA selling out.
Yeah.
That's just, I guess that's the sport selling
out.
Yeah,
that's the sport. I hate you're at a home game. It's Jurgen's last game, and the locals couldn't afford to get the ticket because, sorry, but all the foreigners came and got the tickets, and I hate that. Like, there's things that you got to leave for there are things I fully understand.
Yeah.
Special moments, special events. But, Saturday night against Wolves, and, there's 2 Japanese people, it's okay. Don't record them and post it on Twitter and say, here's the day trippers coming to take over our country. Don't do that. Just
I like that, I think it was Postacoglu, like I was actually showing that to Angel, like what he said about, fans, because he's like, there's no such thing as like plastic fans because they're international and stuff. And like it's a bigger ordeal and a lot more expensive to travel over there to watch the team. And obviously we are just as freaking passionate over here doing this. But I do get the sentiments, and I can understand why there would be like a little bit of resentment and stuff like that.
The viral video that went viral of the Madrid fan that went to City for the Manchester City Real Madrid game, and he posted the whole trip. And basically, he took a Ryanair trip for like £23. Then he got a hotel room for £26 and this and that. The whole trip cost him like with the ticket and everything, because he's signed up with the club and he gets away tickets. The whole trip cost him like £315. I don't remember it. Look it up on Twitter. And all the Americans in the comments are like, fuck my life. That wouldn't buy me a hot dog in the stadium. And I was like, yes, you're absolutely right.
So as he says, Anna has single-handedly made sure America's Casa doesn't get any more sponsors. I'm actually like really optimistic overall because, I get a lot of people, like Anand said it himself. He spilled the beans earlier, said he went on Discord and it was like, what is up with all these Americans in here? But like I hear that from a lot of people where they're, initially, and heck, like Harry, who actually, writes for us and he's been on a couple of our shows and he actually works with This Is Anfield as well. He has even told me that at first he did not think. And then once he listens, he was like, oh, wow, these guys actually know what they're talking about. I think, I don't know, it's probably like if I listen to a Turkish podcast on the NFL or something like that.
Oh my God.
Like, do you guys even know what you're talking about? And then maybe if you give it a shot, if you see enough of them and then you see maybe enough shorts and clips and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, wait, these guys actually do know what they're talking about. And I'm really optimistic that over time that we're going to throw enough content in their face that they're going to be like, these guys know what they're talking about.
Tell you
and they're not even American.
Yeah. Oh, look, they're not even American. Hold on a second. He's brown. Yeah, no, I get it. No, I'll tell you what's funny. I watch a lot of UFC. Okay. A few weeks ago, it was a shitty UFC card. So I wasn't going to buy the pay-per-view. So I get on my Fire Stick and I put the Fire Stick stolen the channels and whoa, and I get it in Arabic.
Edit this one out.
Yeah. I get the UFC fight in Arabic. Now listen, born and raised in Libya, right? My native tongue is Arabic. I've been watching soccer since I was a kid. I remember falling in love with England and Michael Owen in '98 when I was sitting with my dad, who was a huge Liverpool fan, who was excited to see Michael Owen play for England. Okay, so like, I get it. So I'm watching the UFC. I've also been watching this since I was young, and I watched it in Arabic. I know how Scousers feels when they listen to Americans, dude, because the guy in Arabic is like, he's commentating like, now he punches him again. Oh my God, it's another punch. I'm like, dude, that's not what he's doing.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and then the guy goes for a choke, and then he literally says he is attempting to choke him. I am not sure if this is legal. I'm like, wait, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then I go on Twitter and in Arabic, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then all the Arab people's like, dude, I don't know. He's so shit. These stupid Arabs. I'm like, wait, you're Arab too. But it's how they feel. I've been there. I've watched the UFC in Arabic. I hated every second of it. I watched the World Cup in English on the American channels. Oh my God, I want to kill myself. Yeah. Like, I know what they mean. Have you... And by the way, no shade, because we follow each other on social media and we've met and we've talked multiple times. But have you heard Alexi Lalas commentator on the world? And nobody share this clip with anyone that's around him. But dude, it's like the most horrible thing. Like it would be offside. And he goes, well, I actually don't think that's offside. I think he's onside. And then the replay happens and it's the automated system and it says offside. He goes, I doubt that. I'm like, what do you doubt? Like, what are you doubting? So no, I get where they're coming from, but we can't generalize. Because
I get that when I listen to freaking Sky Sports and stuff sometimes. Like, how can you be that out of touch?
Yes.
And I know some of them, especially in the media aspect of it, is for, not the guy who can't call UFC, but I think it's more about, being sensationalist and stuff like that. I feel like commentary has gone to shit too. Like, it's already, but I think, we were talking about this with my brother. We feel like that's been across the board. With commentary, journalism, sports writers and stuff like that. Growing up, you looked forward to certain articles, right? Like in the paper, you were like, wonder what he wrote about the game and stuff. And the people, like when there was commentary, it felt like maybe they did a really good job of acting in the past, but it felt genuine. Like the reaction felt genuine. And then some of those calls became famous. Yes. So now anybody who's in the business of media, and maybe there's way too many of them now compared to what it was in the past, like there was like one channel here, 4 channels there and stuff. So there's so much now. So everybody's trying to make a name for themselves. And I feel like every commentator goes into the game with like 15 lines in their pockets and hoping it happens so they can pull it out because I had this prepared. Whereas in the past, it just felt some of those calls are iconic because it was so genuine. And I don't like now. I just don't see that as much because it feels like it's prepared.
Well,
It's like when he scores, I'm going to say this kind of.
Yeah. And this is exactly why pretty irrelevant. This is exactly why I don't watch Arabic commentary, because everybody in the world loves it, even people that don't speak Arabic. But when I, as an Arabic person, the ball would be in the middle of the field. Like if you're watching the Premier League and you're watching Sky, you're watching this, they'd be like, they'd calm down, they would stop talking, and they would wait for something to happen. The Arabic guy would be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? There's nothing going on. And then he's saying a poem.
It back and forth.
Yeah, he's saying a poem about Messi's hair. I'm like, what the hell did you prepare this for? Like, what are you doing? Like, I can't. It's just her. But yeah,
Thursday is right. They are basically now soundbiters, and I think a lot of that. Lala says a lot of the stuff, and they say stupid things to get reaction, and people making comments and going, "Yeah, I mean." And so I feel like radio stations themselves, like somebody has to say something outrageous, whether it's stupid or not, so that it is a soundbite, so they can put it on Facebook, so you can say, "What is he talking about?" and click on it and stuff.
Get the interactions.
Yeah. So yeah, but hey, like when we post stuff, some of the off the topic things get a lot more reaction than just like a sensible analogy.
I guarantee you, when you clip our conversation about American fans, we're gonna get a lot of non-Americans saying "fuck off, Yanks." Just watch. This might be our most commented on post, and I don't want to be involved. Cover my face.
We'll put John in charge of clipping that. Okay, let's get to some headlines. Enzo Maresca has agreed on a 5-year deal, which, these numbers are meaningless, except yet another long deal by Chelsea over there. Good move, bad move. Where do you put that?
Good move, won't last.
Okay. So you were okay with them getting rid of Poch?
I think Poch should have stayed. Okay. At the end of the season, Chelsea played some beautiful football. At the end of the season, Chelsea started to click. And he figured things out, and he's in charge completely. They got rid of him, which made no sense whatsoever to me. But Maresca, he's a good manager. I only seen him last season at Leicester. So I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about him. Please don't. But based on what I've seen, based on the issues he had at Leicester, based on all the problems going on, he did well. And it's not like he signed a bunch of gazillion-dollar players. He went on with the squad that he had that got relegated, and he moved him up. But for Chelsea to come in and snatch him with such a big budget, with all these names that they have, that he now has to manage plus sort shit out, I don't think it's going to last. I think starts off well. We have problems, trouble in paradise, and probably by the end of the season, either gone or the conversation is, do we keep him or do we let him go?
I'm trying to pull it up because I think I saw, I don't know if I'm like, I don't know how long, but he was in like cities.
He was an assistant,
like a youth group or youth program or whatever.
Yes.
Before then. And so that's, I think, a positive. I always see, coaches who have been at that level, started at that level, a lot more positive than some of like usually ex-players, right? They just kind of like almost start at the top. Might be a smaller club, but they start at the top.
Because you look him up, and he was in charge of the Chelsea Elite Development Club and Academy. When was the last time Chelsea developed an elite academy player? I mean, Man City. Sorry. When was the last time? Because that's what his job was. He was in the academy, and he was an elite player development. They don't develop shit. They just buy him. And that's probably why.
Palmer, where's Boaz at?
Well, Cole Palmer, he's bad. Cole Palmer's horrible. That's not what I'm saying.
Who do they have recently? That was another young one, but I know what she said. Foden.
Yeah, Phil Foden. These are the only two names I can think
of. The top two guys.
Come on, for 100 years, you only can name me 2 young players.
Well, I mean, I didn't go that far back. I was just going back to the last.
Didn't they also have Adam Johnson, who's now in Prison FC? But that's irrelevant. But what I'm saying is, nobody's going to look at that. People are now going to look what he can do for the club. And in a club like Chelsea that's turning into a toxic team because of all the money, because of what Bowley's doing, I don't think he's a right fit. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't know very much about him to give you a detail of what he's going to do. I just don't think it's going to work out because of him and then Chelsea. All the money and all the madness that they've got.
It really depends, because I get the feeling, I mean, you're not looking at what Pochettino did, especially you're not looking at the second part of the season and saying, yeah, this is not going the way we want to go. We got to make a change. You're probably making that change because there's some kind of a disagreement over some basics and some foundations where, you know, at the end of the season, Pochettino said, yeah, this guy is not needed, that guy is not needed, and we need this. And they did not like what they heard. And they were like, well, sucks because we kind of signed that guy to a 9-year deal kind of thing. So he's going to be here. If anybody's going to go, it's going to be you, man. He's here longer than you are kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So when the new guy comes in, it's almost like I'm assuming, coming within certain parameters. Can he make it work within those parameters, I guess, is the challenge.
And now the question becomes, are we going to hear more about this head coach versus manager thing in clubs? We'll see. Yeah. But here, it'll be easy to tell how well he's doing next season because we want to see what kind of output that Cole Palmer puts out. Is he going to be the same player or is he going to be tied? Is he going to be more into a role? That'll tell us everything about what Maresca's doing. Again, I think he's a good manager. I just don't think he's the issue. I think Chelsea's the issue. So we'll see. So
I think, the way the squad is built, the way the contracts are worked out, that seems to be the issue. But even within those issues, Pochettino had them playing pretty well towards the end.
Yes, that's why
I realize that's mostly due to Palmer and his form and stuff like that. But still, they were getting across the line more often than not. I'm almost like, as a Liverpool fan, I kind of like that they kind of did the resets, because I think they were headed in the right direction and they were going to be another team to challenge down the road. If Pochettino got what he wanted, but obviously he didn't. He got out the door instead. Another headline for managers is McKenna signing with Ipswich. So he is not going anywhere. He was rumored to be going all over the place. Good move, bad move.
Great move.
Great move for Ipswich, but is it a good move for him?
It's a great. Remember what I said last week. It's a great move for him. He needs to be nowhere near United. He needs to be nowhere near that club. He needs to stay where he is. Give it a shot. Listen, the worst thing that can happen to you if you get relegated from the Premier League, you go to Bayern Munich. So don't worry. Your big move is still on the cards. So I wouldn't be surprised. But it's a good move for him. You don't want to ruin your career at such an early time. He's not young, I know, but you don't want to ruin he's actually young. You don't want to ruin your career you don't want to ruin your career this early with a move to United, who is currently having issues. They can't afford their kitchen people, for the love of God. What's he gonna do there? So he's done the right thing. One more season, stay in your club. At the end of this year, next season, Eric Ten Hag either gets fired or they keep him again. Then you decide, I stay or I go. But don't go to a club that doesn't have a direction yet. Once this club gets a direction, you can make your move. So I'm very happy he's staying. And I don't think they'll get relegated. I think they'll stay. And I'm very, very, very happy for him because I like him. And I didn't want him to go to United.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about actually, a clip just came out on our channel like yesterday about, me and Kazi mainly talking about, the relegation of the teams, and like teams coming from championship more than likely getting relegated back and the reasons behind it and stuff. So I don't know if I'm hopeful about it for staying. I'm going to torn on this with McKenna because as a manager, you can also feel that, he's got the name now, right? In terms of that type of club being able to get him promoted, turn things around and stuff. So he'll be sought after, even if he went to United, let's say, and he didn't do well. It's not like he derailed his career. He would go back to a team similar and, like a good opportunity where he would get his choice of opportunity, not, like do whatever is left over in the back. But I think at the same time, he has taken that chance. These chances might not come as often. If he gets relegated with Ipswich or if he gets fired from Ipswich and stuff like that, now you're off United's radar. So if you ever had that shot, it's gone now. So do you not strike while the iron is hot?
Traditionally, yes. But when the iron is hot and the option is Manchester United, again, that are currently a club without a direction, no, I wouldn't do it. And 30 years of age, he's going to have so many opportunities. He's going to have so many options. He had two clubs looking at him, United and Chelsea. This isn't a guy that's going to go away just because of one season first staying in his club.
You don't think so? Like if he gets relegated or if he gets fired in, I don't know, November, it's just like, hey, thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah, I was just reading. Signed till 2028, and the only reason that happened is because they're put a release clause at the end of this season. They want to cash out. He ain't going nowhere. This
Oh,
is
you
a
think
name
basically, yeah. So next season, when he goes somewhere, at least they'll get
they
something
cash
for
out
it.
because this is a name that we're gonna see for the next God knows how many years. It's these young managers that are now gonna become the new Redknapps and Hudsons and all these guys. It's the Premier League. It's England. We're gonna recycle managers for the rest of our life.
Sergi says Sean Dyche got Burnley into Europe and ended up at Everton. Company gets Burnley relegated, ends up at Bayern. To be fair, though, the company and to Douche, I don't think any Bayern fan looks at how Sean Dyche plays at Burnley, at Everton, and stuff and says, "Yeah, that's the guy we want over here."
I don't think Burnley fans looked at Dyche and said, "Wow, what a great
remember
player!"
actually like talking to a Burnley fan we bought on air, like we had like a podcast, and that was one of the questions I asked. Like, do you get result oriented, where whatever it takes? Because we got to get these points one at a time to stay in the league. And he even said after a while, like, you just want to see your team play and lose or win, just freaking play. Like, this is just pathetic to watch kind of a thing. And I think, a lot of Burnley fans felt like that. I think in the first season, you're like, yes, you kept us up. Now what? Oh, we're still doing the same thing. Yeah, we can't do this for the rest of our lives. Like, you'd rather get relegated and play than just not go out at all.
And this is why I think McKenna stays for a while. He finishes this season, whether they get relegated or not, he's guaranteed to move. Guaranteed to move. Because either Ten Hag doesn't work out, Maresca doesn't work out, Arne Slot doesn't work out. There's a lot of names technically being looked at on the chopping block. I mean,
don't even put that in the goddamn universe. Slot is here to stay.
Yeah. Arne Slot is here to stay. I hope so, because this is good for us.
So this, I probably should have given this more time, but I don't want to get going. But in defense of Trent over here, so Trent Arnold was dribbled past more times than any other defender in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Bear in mind, he missed some time too. But is this a little skewed? I mean, I'm the last one to defend Trent's defending, obviously. But is this a little skewed because half the time he is in midfield, so he's going to be dribble pass a lot easier. I'm sure you got to adjust these numbers to midfielders a little bit as well in his defense.
Yeah, it's like when they came at us with, Salah missed this many chances a few years ago. Yeah, he's a right winger. He's not a striker. I'm totally fine with it. He's dropping 38 goals a season. This is very skewed. A lot of the times he's getting dribble passes when he loses possession in the middle. And then he tries to win the ball again, and somebody just gets past him. Now, did he get dribbled past as a defender? Yeah, we saw it. We're familiar with it. But not every single time he's been dribbled past, he was playing at the right back. A lot of the times he was up trying to cross the ball, loses the ball, tries to win it again. They take the ball. He stops running back. But that's not what we're talking about. So it's very skewed. It's very biased. And it doesn't bother me one bit. I know a lot of people's like, well, he's a defender. And it doesn't bother me one bit.
His lack of defending doesn't bother you one bit?
No, him getting dribbled past that many times.
Okay.
His lack of defending
bother you.
His lack of defending is heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
But that's for another day. Keep it positive.
Yes, keep it positive. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like I say, I saw this and I figured, I can't remember who shared it on Discord as a headline, but I was like, oh, this is just a beach ball for me to go off. But I think it's like the specific stat they're looking for, they're going after, and they highlighted and made more bold and stuff, because so people can like us kind of like share center goals. But yeah, I think some of those being in midfield affects it. That's one of the things that I'm very interested to see what Slot does with, because he is known for playing a lot more, not playing defensively, but playing a lot more safer back there. And, like keeping clean sheets and stuff like that. So what he does with Trent, does he move him up? Because the whole, our approach of that's fine if you concede one because we're doing that because we'll score 2-3 instead. That's not, he still plays attacking and aggressive football, but he does like, who doesn't like a clean sheet? He does like clean sheets. So he is you look at Feyenoord's like defensive improvement and stuff like that. You can kind of tell the way he plays, he does make sure we're safe in the back. So it's going to be interesting to see how he uses Trent in the system. And I'm sure it was something that was talked about before he came over here. So
100%.
Saturday, right? The final? as we head out, we always head out with predictions. What you got?
Real Madrid 3-1.
Yeah, I hate this. I'm rooting for Dortmund, obviously. I think most of us are, if not all of us. But man, it's a tough task, and it's almost like they've gone. In some ways, though, they've done so many tough tasks. I kind of like. You remember, like, what was that last year? Inter and City.
Yep.
I mean, Inter had no shots on paper, and they put up a good fight, and they could have been in there. So I do expect a similar game. It's just a matter of can Dortmund finish? Because one thing Dortmund has been is very clinical as they move through quarters and semis and stuff like that. So if it's 3-1, is it like a 3-0 cruising and they make it 3-1 at the end?
That's what I think. It's like a 3-0 cruising and then they get one at the end. Listen, this is Real Madrid's competition, man. This is Real Madrid's competition. This is their world and we're all living in it. So them in a Champions League final, I am not worried about them winning, or it's just a matter of how much are they going to win by. Do I want to be wrong? Absolutely. Right. But I just don't think anybody stops them with the way they've been playing and the way this team is going. And yes, Jude dominating La Liga. I mean, player of the season, his first season in La Liga at such a young age. He's a force to be reckoned with. And I think, yes, he will win the Champions League. I think England will do okay in the Euros. And I think Jude will win the Ballon d'Or without a single doubt. Because it's between him and Vinicius.
Regardless of what England does at Euros, because now we're seeing somehow the international results.
Only in the situation of Messi. Other than that, they don't look at it. And regardless of how England do in the Euro, unless Argentina win Copa America, then Messi will win it.
Can they just both retire so we get some other people on the stage?
Literally,
I personally don't care about it as much. I think the only time I watched it is when Van Dijk was up for it. Yeah. I have never watched the ceremony ever. I could not care less.
That reminds me of something because there's a Copa America and Brazil is in it and Vinicius is up for a Ballon d'Or as well. So if Brazil win the Copa America, Real Madrid win the Champions League.
That's pathetic that Real has two guys in the running.
The final three will be Vinicius. It'll be Vinicius. It'll be Jude. Who is the third?
You know, I don't know. You're the one who said three, and then I was waiting for the third.
Yeah, there's always three. There's always the last three, but I mean, it could be. Messi. I don't know.
They're not going to put Messi over there if he's not going to win.
Well, if Messi wins the Copa America, they're going to say, well, he's done a tremendous job in the MLS. He's only missed 17 games out of 20. So, I mean, hello. So you never really know. But Jude, Vinicius, Phil Foden can make an argument.
Did break the scoring record in the Saudi League. So that's
he did. And so would my grandma, and she's been dead for a few years. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind Foden up there. He's had a great season, honestly. This is too early, but Cole Palmer's got to be in that conversation eventually soon. And I know Boaz thinks he's horrible. We've got...
Poor Boaz. He's never going to outlive that comment.
Haaland is going to be in the conversation, but this year it's between Vinicius and Jude. And I'm leaning more towards Jude because Vinicius has the exact same identical numbers to Darwin Nunez. But we think Darwin is bad. Yes. Mbappe would be up there, especially that. If Mbappe is up there and it's him, Vinicius, and Jude, it's three Real Madrid players. Oh my God.
That's nauseating. Okay, let's end it on that nauseating note.
Depressing.
But yeah, I couldn't care less if Bellingham wins it or not. So I'd rather have Dortmund win. It's the underdog and sick of seeing freaking Real win fucking Champions League. So yeah, I'd rather have Dortmund win. But I do agree. I think Real pulls this off. Just. It feels like Dortmund is punching above their weights all along, really, as they have advanced as well. But I am really rooting for him. It's an easy team to root for.
And Jurgen's going to be rooting for him on Saturday, so we got to back him.
That and then Taylor Swift. Okay, we'll be back. Actually, we might do a live watch along, trying to see. I will not be available. I'll be at Gordo's chasing his ducks around and eating some of his ducks at the same time, I think. So won't be available, but we are trying to see if we can do like a live watch along for the game because that should be fun to do. But if not, Monday morning, I'll be back with the Polish Prince. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about the final. And hopefully by then, if Slot talks, we'll talk about what he's talking about. So until then, have an awesome weekend, everybody. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.